My dear friends, come Monday, the K.C.S.E written papers will be going on in various schools in this country. I know everyone wants to pass. Every parent wants her student to perform. All the teachers, even the learners, want their kids to perform. And then, what is it that we need to do so that we realize progress that we might not have been able to achieve before? It is the plan. A well-structured revision plan should give us results, even if it's not necessarily giving us a top grade, but at least there should be progress. To begin with, as a teacher who has been privileged to handle several students, have learned positively that the last minute to the exams is equally crucial. Like in a marathon, the final sprint, you must have finishing power for you to win a given race. And that's where the top athletes and the average athletes make a difference. I remember for a long time I'd really struggled with the chemistry practical. I knew that it was undoable. I remember that I scored 14 in mock and scoring a D plus in chemistry as a subject. But then the afternoon to the following day, I remember our chemistry teacher showing us everything, how we could easily survive without necessarily carrying out titration. And that moment, I realized that what was giving me a headache was titration and not necessarily the calculation of the molarity. So I lost confidence. And remember that the following day, when I got that question in the exam room, it was so easy for me. And ironically, from D plus in chemistry, in mock, I ended up leaving high school with a B minus in chemistry. This somebody who had given up. I suspect that instead of 14 in that, this time round in K.C.S.E, I must have escaped with the 28. My dear friends, that is just but an example. If I could make progress within hours to the chemistry paper the following day, then I later learned that this strategy could be transferred to all other subjects. Again, not just as my experience as a learner, but I've also been privileged to be in top schools in this country where I've seen learners put extra effort in their final touches, and even someone who had a C or a C minus end up even scoring a B or a B plus, at times even A minus. And therefore, I've thought of some of the practices that we as a school or as schools, we've tried practicing and we've seen them working. And I played with you that if you go try this, believe me, you'll also realize that the first, number one, ensure that the learner is confident. Right now, is not focusing on what you can't do, but focusing on what you can easily do. We have to speak positivity so that the learner is encouraged to continue working. The learner might not have been doing before, but if we make them believe that it's going to be doable, then it is going to be easy in the exam. In most cases, what keeps us far from performance is the fear. I feared chemistry practical, I feared mathematics, but that moment I changed my psychology. It became so easy. So in simple terms, whatever we've just talked about is confidence. As a teacher, as a parent, as friends, what you need to be telling your learners at the moment is all about confidence. Make them believe in themselves. Secondly, this is the time we really need to remind them to be alert or be focused. There are so many distractions. I've always been reminded that it is not all about finishing school, but the most important thing is what you are going to score in the exams. So the exhilaration should not be in the finishing school, but rather what you are going to score when the K.C.S.E results will be released, most likely in December this year. When a learner is alert, when the learner is attentive, then it means minimal distractions, or the distractions which might be in school, just emanating from losing themselves the last minute, they'll not be there. Again, the learner must also ensure that in relevance to being alert or focused, the learner must also have a particular timetable, a strict timetable, assuming that on Monday, like this Monday, the coming Monday, we are starting with English. Could be the following day or the same afternoon, they'll be having mathematics or chemistry, meaning the learner must time himself or herself well, that at the end of this today, up to a given time, I'm going to revise the subjects that are still far away. So when you've planned all these things, it means you'll be able to go through all these papers. No subject will be left behind. So the timetable must be followed strictly to ensure that all the important parts, all the important sections are well covered. Another thing that we must also insist on as teachers or as mentors or as parents or even learners who are aware, that we must insist on active studying habits. If you go back and check on the learning pyramid, you'll agree with me that there are passive methods of studies. Again, there are also active ways of studying. This final time, you really need as a student to focus on the active ones. Remember, according to the learning pyramid, 50% is attained or is realized when active group discussions is involved. If you take the learner through group discussions, maybe 4 to 5, and every member of that group is actively involved and they teach each other, then they are going to learn so much, the one that they couldn't learn independently. Remember, again, in the same learning pyramid, it is only 5% you learn when you are studying individually, meaning studying or reading or lecture is falling under the category of passive. But if you discuss thoroughly and you go through even the past papers, it is good for you. Another thing, the learner should have a partner, a studying partner, or a revising partner, so that when he or she has learned a given concept, he or she can make an attempt of teaching another person. Remember, when you explain a given concept to another person, to another student, you learn it more, you get it, it sticks, it enhances your memory. Also, if you can't get a partner, perhaps you are a student and you are at home alone, maybe you can go to a mirror. You can face a mirror, and maybe you can do mock teaching. And when you teach a given concept, a concept you've been struggling to understand, it's going to stick. And believe me, it's going to make a huge difference. Still, under the study methods, the active methods, go through the past papers. There are so many papers. Could be the K.C.S.E past papers. 2023 there was exam. 2022. Imagine if you go, for example, if it is oral skills in paper 1, and you go all through the oral skills since 2015 up to today, the questions are going to come from there. Again, it's going to give you confidence that whatever you are discussing is going to fall under that category. My dear friends, again, we must remember, we've said that you have to think of the active learning methods. But again, active learning methods cannot take place when you don't have other members. You might go first as an individual, but you might not go very far. You might go fast, but you might not go far if you opt out not working with other people. But if you decide to work with other members, if you collaborate, if you learn to move with the rest, then you are going to gain from each other, and at the end, all of you are going to make progress. Therefore, I'm emphasizing on effective group discussions during this period until you are done with the K.C.S.E exams. Again, my dear friends, even as you think of effective group discussions, You must also remember that there are usually lots of distractions. Therefore, you must have a leader who will be reminding you when you are digressing, so that you remain alert and focused until you are done with given concepts. And again, you must have the objectives of every meeting you have. If you know that at the end of this we are going to capture all the Form 1, Form 2, Form 3 work, or maybe you are going to start with a given section in day 1 in a given subject, then at the end of that discussion period, then you must have finished that. And that what can only happen if you have a serious leader and members who are focused. My dear friend, again, still you have to take care of your health. Right now, there's a lot of stress. Others are even imagining, what if I fail in K.C.S.E? No, the life is not going to end. There are people who might not have scored so well, but still they ended up becoming successful in this life. So you have to be at peace. When you minimize stress, you are healthy. Again, what about the type of meals you take? I know some of our schools are privileged to have canteens. Again, there is also a supply of wheat-related meals. Could be bread, could be mandazis, could be cakes. Others are even consuming lots of processed sugar drinks like sodas, like energy drinks. This is the time to minimize those drinks because they have got lots of sugars, and when they run out in your body, again, you are going to tire very fast. So you have to watch what you are taking in. But again, if you are forced to take in all these, then you must find a way of burning these sugars you are going to take in your body. And therefore, I'm advising you that at least every single day during the exams period, create around 20 to 25 minutes of active physical exercises. If you don't like playing football, or you don't like playing volleyball, or you don't like running or making laps, or you don't like playing these simple games, look for a music. Look for music. Dance, sweat, and as you sweat, there is lots of relaxation that is taking place. And at the end of it, you will be relaxed, the oxygen will be flowing easily, and you will be healthy. Again, as we are still talking about health, also ensure that during the exam period, you have adequate rest. This is not the time to extend for over 8 years. Imagine you are going for paper 2, especially now that is going to be on Saturday in the afternoon, and you didn't have adequate rest, and you slept for 2 or 3 hours, then you happen to find a boring comprehension in the exam. My friend, you might find yourself sleeping in the exam room, and as a result, it's going to be a challenge. Therefore, I beg you, ensure that during this period, could be 6 to 7 hours. If you can't manage 8 hours, ensure that you sleep for at least 6 hours so that you are fresh the following day. So every student who is sitting for the exam, by Sunday, I advise you to minimize extension, because you might find yourself so fatigued in the exam the following day. Again, what about the time management? You might be asking me, why am I encouraging you to sleep longer hours? Because if you are able to manage your time well, then you won't even think of extending at night, because you will be using every single moment you get to revisit some of the things you will be. So you'll not be trying to compensate later in the course of the day or in the night to regain what you've already lost. If you use your time well, then believe me, you'll be able to be more productive than going to exam when you're already tired. My dear friends, my dear learners, again, always ensure that when you are fatigued, when you are tired, could be you are from the exam room and you feel like revising again, and you've started revision maybe for 20 to 25 minutes, then you get tired, ensure that you take important or crucial breaks. Maybe a break of 5 to 10 minutes. You don't have to take a walk. You can just be around there, but again, you meditate a little bit, then you come back to study. Why? Because human brains, we are human beings and we normally tire. And the way we are wired, at times we can only focus or concentrate for around 25 to 30 minutes. Could be on the higher side. But what if you take those meaningful, even numerous breaks? You'll be more active and you will be more effective in your revision during that time. Again, you have to stay positive. You have to believe that it's doable. This is the time you need to stop thinking, what if the result will not be good? Again, even if it will not be good, it's not going to be the end of the journey. I know several people who have gone back to school who might not have done well, but they have opted to go back to school to get that. So it is not a matter of life and death. I must have taught a student some time back. This boy did well. He scored 73 B plus, only missing some few points to an A minus. But this, my friend, wanted to do medicine, nothing else. And he opted to go back to school in 6 months. During COVID, you didn't have to go back to school in a whole year. So he only went back for 6 months. And after 6 months, with 73 points, he moved to an A plane of 83, just missing one. He had gotten a top grade, but according to him, that is not what he had anticipated. He wanted to be a doctor, and it is the medicine that took him back. Of course, I also know my runner at a given time wanted to be a teacher, scores a C plane, misses 1 point, but right in Form 2, the girl had always reminded me that whatever she wanted was to be a teacher, and she misses 1 point to make it to C plus. When this girl came back to clear, she finds me with my friend who is equally a mentor, and we ask her, my friend, you wanted to be a teacher. Now that you didn't get it, why have you decided to come and clear? Why can't you think of even repeating? Unfortunately, we didn't take even 30 seconds telling this girl to come back and sit for the exam again. And this year, even the principal accepted, allowed her in without anything. The father also bought the idea. So instead of clearing, this girl, who happened to have been the president or the captain in that school with the C plane, opted to come back to that school as an ordinary student and repeated. And at the end of the year, this girl, whom I will not love to mention her name, left Huruma Girls High School with a B minus of 58, and she's currently pursuing her B.Ed Arts in Geography and Kiswahili at Machakos University. So it is never that serious. If you really want it, you might not get it now, but next time you can still get it. So the positivity should always reign supreme. When you are positive in life, of course, you will minimize the stress that will come. Sometime back, I remember had answered a question in India. I had answered a given question in India, and I realized that I was totally off. I was totally irrelevant in a given question, and this thing really bothered me. So when I went back, I couldn't even focus. I tried sleeping, but I couldn't sleep. But then there is a love letter my high school girlfriend had written me from Opondi Girls High School. I remember well. And when I read that letter, looked at the beautiful handwriting, I think even the perfume sense that I'd been given was still intact. And that letter gave me hope. It encouraged me. And therefore, you have to look for something good. If you realize that things didn't go well in a given paper, try to forget the paper and minimize the questions. Look for something positive that can make you happy in that exam so that it doesn't affect you the following day. Therefore, I urge you once again, once you're through with the paper, focus on the next paper. Completely forget about the next. Take your time and think about the following day. Lastly, allow me to remind you that revise, then review. There is no learning that takes place without a recall session. You've been doing lots of things. You have summary notes. Over the year, you've been writing or scribbling notes in various places. This is the time not to read the entire text, maybe just for perusal. But what you can do, just go through your summary notes, go through the short notes, and then check. Try explaining them to someone again. Revise and revise. You have so many papers that you must have been given during this period. Go through them, try answering. They're the same that are going to be in the exam. We could have talked about so many things, but in the next episode, we could be talking about 2 or 3 things you need to sum up for you to move from a given grade to another. It is never over until it is over. It is never too late to make an impact. No one will remember the grades you've been scoring before, for the K.C.S.E will only concentrate on the ultimate grade. May the Almighty Father guide you and grant you wisdom and intelligence as you do the final touches for your exam. And most importantly, I wish all the students, all the learners in all the schools in this country success.